So what we're starting to see is that a component needs to be a standalone piece of code, which is we're calling a component. It's standalone, but we can create multiple instances of a component. So I have multiple instances here of this component, but I only have one instance of this root component, not component, but the root element, which is Vue. And so Vue has one element, but we can create multiple instances of a component. And it's standalone, but in order to make this instance of a component unique from this instance of a component, I need to be able to send that component definition unique pieces of information. And so we're seeing how we can send information from the DOM into the component definition. So kind of like data binding, like we did last week. And so the last video we did that with putting information in between our open and close tags, and that went into the slot. Looks like I have code left over from before, and practice video before this one, which didn't go well, which is why I'm redoing it. Anyway, so point being that this information in between the open and close heading tag is going into the slot, and each one is unique, and so therefore we're getting different output. So there's other ways that we can send data to our component. This was one. Another is what's called props. And I want to bring you back for an example. Remember when we did an image and we would have an image and we would have a source? So these are properties, these are attributes of the image tag. And when we put something into these strings, that information was sent to the image tag, so the image tag would have more information so it would know how to render itself. Well, that's basically the same thing we're going to do next. But we get to call our own property names, attributes, property names. And so I'm going to put a space here in between the headings and the closing greater than sign, bracket, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to call it greeting equals, and this one is going to be aloha. And I'm going to create this one, which will be greeting equals hola, H-O-L-A. And so again, individual instances of my component, but I want to send data to the component definition to make them unique, to make them different from each other. And so in order to send properties into my component, I have to create another or utilize another Vue-defined property called props. And props expects to receive an array of property names you expect to use. I know that's a lot. So I'm expecting to use greeting. I want to utilize greeting to send a string into my props and then eventually into my template. And so I'm going to put the word greeting because that's the word I agreed to use, or I said I was going to use. And so I'm going to put that here in between my slot and my OpenH4 tag. So I should be able to use the word greeting here and recognize then that should, let's see it print out. We should see it print out there. I'm also going to look in my Vue and my dev tools, and I'm going to see headings has a props greeting of aloha, and this one has a props greeting of hola. And so I'm sending different pieces of information into the component, and utilizing this props property, I can create one or more properties that I can send into my template. And you can create more of them. It's an array, so you just copy. Let's just do it. Maybe I wanted to do another one. Greeting, maybe a name. Make it name equals Kirsten. And then I'll make this one name equals Charlotte. I don't know where that came from. It just came out. And so now I would have to catch that one, catch name. So I have to create or define that property name. So I'm now defining that property name. I'm sending data to that property. And then I will put that value here. And so it'll print out in my template. So now I should see that also being displayed. Looks like I don't have spaces. So there we go. So now we're seeing yet another way to send data from our DOM into our component definitions.